Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Get ready for a serious dose of nostalgia, because today we're taking a trip back to the 1980s. You know, the era of big hair, shoulder pads, and some of the most talented and gorgeous actresses to ever grace the silver screen. Today we're counting down the top 10 most beautiful and popular actresses from this dazzling decade. First up, we have the one and only Merill Streep. I mean, come on, is there anything this woman can't do? In the 80s, Merill was already a powerhouse, blowing us all away in movies like Sophie's Choice, which, by the way, if you haven't seen, get ready for an emotional roller coaster. Seriously, her performance in that film? Iconic. And you know what's amazing? Meryl's still rocking it in Hollywood. She was recently in The Post, and as always, she was absolutely brilliant. It's no wonder she holds the record for the most Golden Globe nominations of any actress. Merill, you're an inspiration to us all. During the 1980s, Merill was in her 30s, and can you believe she's 74 now? Aging like a fine wine, I tell ya. Next up, we have the incredible Sigourney Weaver. She totally owned the sci-fi genre in the 80s with her badass role as Ripley in Aliens. Talk about a strong female character. Ripley was tough, smart, and she totally kicked alien butt. Sigourney's performance was so powerful and inspiring. And guess what? She's still going strong. She recently starred in Avatar: The Way of Water, proving that she can still command the screen like no other. Fun fact about Sigourney, she was actually born Susan. Can you believe it? She adopted the name Sigourney from a character in F. Scott Fitzgerald's novel The Great Gatsby. So cool. Sigourney was in her 40s during the 1980s and is now a vibrant 73 years old. Let's talk about Michelle Pfeiffer. She absolutely smoldered on screen in the 80s, especially in Scarface alongside Al Pacino. Her performance was both captivating and heartbreaking, and she was absolutely stunning in that movie. Those cheekbones? Forget about it. But Michelle's talent goes way beyond her beauty. She's a gifted actress who can disappear into any role. She was recently in French Exit, and let me tell you, she was phenomenal. By the way, did you know that Michelle won the Miss Orange County Beauty Pageant back in 1978? Talk about a natural beauty. Michelle was in her 30s in the 1980s and is now 66, and as gorgeous as ever. Okay, let's talk about Glenn Close. She gave us chills in Fatal Attraction. Remember that iconic bunny boiling scene? Talk about intense. Glenn can play both vulnerable and fierce like nobody's business. She's a true chameleon on screen, and she always brings her A game. She was recently in Hillbilly Elegy, and as always, she completely transformed herself for the role. But did you know that Glenn is also an amazing singer? It's true, she's even performed in Broadway musicals. Talk about multi-talented. Glenn was in her 40s back in the 80s and is now 77 years old. Next up, it's Jessica Lange, and let me tell you, this woman is a legend. She had us all laughing in Tootsie alongside Dustin Hoffman. Her comedic timing is impeccable, and she brought such warmth and humor to that role. But Jessica's not just a comedic genius. She can do it all. She was recently in The Politician, and, as always, she was absolutely captivating. And here's a fun fact about Jessica. She's also a professional photographer. How cool is that? She was in her 30s during the 80s and is now 75 years old. Okay, get ready to swoon, because next up it's Kathleen Turner. She was the ultimate dream girl in the 80s, starring in adventure romance films like Romancing the Stone with Michael Douglas. She was funny, she was fierce, and she had that incredible voice. Kathleen was seriously considered one of the most desirable women in Hollywood back then, and for good reason. She's still working today and was recently in The Kominsky Method. Kathleen was in her 30s in the 1980s and is now a fabulous 69. Up next, it's the one and only Goldie Hawn. She was absolutely everywhere in the 80s. Her films included Bird on a Wire, There's a Girl in My Soup, Death Becomes Her, and many more over the years. She endeared people to her with her beauty, golden locks, and the funny and sometimes ditzy characters she played. She starred in Overboard with her now lifelong partner, Kurt Russell. Since then, they have starred in a more recent movie together, The Christmas Chronicles. We all wanted to be Goldie Hawn, and she was equally amazing in movies like Private Benjamin, proving she could rock a comedic role like no other. Goldie is still going strong at 78 years old. She was in her 30s in the 80s. And now, let's talk about Jamie Lee Curtis, the ultimate scream queen. In the 80s, she became a horror movie icon, starting with her unforgettable role in Halloween. Her piercing screams and fierce determination made her the perfect horror heroine. But Jamie Lee Curtis didn't stop at horror. She showed her versatility with comedic hits like Trading Places and A Fish Called Wanda, proving she could do it all. Her legacy in the horror genre remains unmatched, and she's still captivating audiences today. Jamie Lee Curtis truly is the scream queen of the 80s. Jamie Lee Curtis, the scream queen. Get ready for some Southern charm because next up it's Sally Field. This woman is a national treasure. She had us all in tears in Steel Magnolias. Her performance was so raw, so real, and so incredibly moving. I don't think there was a dry eye in the house. Sally's still captivating audiences today, and was recently in Hello, My Name is Doris. And here's a fun fact about Sally. Did you know she originally wanted to be a writer? It's true, but I'm so glad she chose acting because she's a true gift to us all. She was in her 40s in the 80s and is now 77. Last, but certainly not least, we have Demi Moore. She was such an iconic actress of the 80s, starring in films such as St. Elmo's Fire with the then popular Brat Pack. One of her best performances, which shot her into stardom, was in Ghost with Patrick Swayze. Despite having a very short haircut and hardly any makeup, she showed her natural beauty and her versatile acting ability. She played some great female roles. Who can forget Indecent Proposal, and then Striptease, and later G.I. Jane? This woman has proved over the years that she is just as tough as some of the characters she plays. Demi is now 61 and still looks as beautiful as she did in the 80s. Wow, what a trip down memory lane. The 1980s were truly a magical time in Hollywood, filled with such talent, beauty, and unforgettable performances. These incredible women paved the way for so many and continue to inspire us with their work today. Thanks for joining us on this nostalgic journey back to the 1980s. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more amazing content. There's always something new. See you in the next video.